Hey Soul Tribe, this is Neo Ra checking in again today for another channeled message. Bow, 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 bow. I'm getting like a New Year's Eve party, like a mass awakening in the collective. So let's tap into this energy and let's talk about it. Hope everybody's doing well, living on that abundance timeline, feeling the good feels that we came here to experience, right? Nobody came here to be in pain and suffering, right? And always be guarded. I feel like there's some healing as far as the work we've been doing this last solar return for the last year. Intuiting High Priestess on the bottom. And I'm almost picking up on what came to mind as PTSD. Like we've been at war for so long spiritually, some of us, not everybody. That I'm not getting to not have awareness and to go back to the old timeline where people are just asleep, can go back to sleep, but that the war has been won. That's what I'm getting. Incoming message. The war has been won. So I feel like it's time to debrief. This is like after you come back from a mission and it was successful and you compare notes. So a lot of us in the collective have a lot of war stories, right? I feel like there's a lot of new lessons that have been learned. Getting the Knight of Pentacles, riding back in after the battle, and the Three Swords through the heart. So a lot of us have taken on a lot of scars. We got some war battle wounds, right? That we're healing. Myself, and I've been hearing a lot of people needing to sleep more. You may be one of those people. And to take it easy on ourselves, to take care of ourselves, and to get ready for this next push. We got the Chariot on the bottom. In preparation for this next push, that a huge wall or barrier has been overcome in the past. Six of Cups on the bottom. So take a deep breath, relax, settle back into our bodies, our vessels, and appreciate that which we have achieved as a collective. I think it's pretty amazing the amount of people who are not just awake but stepping into and standing in the power that was yours from the beginning. It was always yours. And we've allowed ourselves, our gifts, our abilities to be used in ways that didn't take us into account, and by people who didn't have our best interest at heart, right? I'm seeing this Three of Swords again. People who didn't have our best interest at heart, heartbreak, separation, sorrow, emotional pain, heart problems, betrayal, upset, loss, trauma, and tears. And learning these lessons is, a lot of this is not stuff we'll ever have to experience again. You know, when you pass a certain grade in school, the next year when you graduate and you go back, there might be some review on the old material, but it's something that you've already had ingrained within you. So you don't have to come to the table with a blank slate. You've already learned. It's a matter of remembering. And I'm hearing, when we go through this next cycle over the next year, when we go through certain energies that we've already leveled up from, re-engaging those energies will be different because we're different, right? When you go to the next grade, you embody and identify with that level, right? And you're not as concerned about the outcome because you already know you succeeded in the past. So there's a level of confidence that this next cycle is bringing. And that's really exciting to look forward to, a cycle for all of us where we don't have to worry. I'm seeing the Five of Wands. We don't have to worry about the same struggles that we did in the past and maybe getting hurt. Six of Swords is coming out under the Nine of Wands. So that healing and that trauma that we have transmuted by intuiting and learning those lessons and receiving those messages and being honest with ourselves and giving ourselves time to recover and appreciating that we're receiving the benefits and the rewards from learning those lessons, and Source is putting us back on track. Not that we were ever off track, but being on track, on the horse with the pinnacle, manifesting powerfully, moving forward in the chariot, unstoppable, right? The chariot talks about willpower, success, focus, moon energy, Cancer, water sign, emotionally strong, right? Part of learning this energy, what's available is emotional strength. And the water being so extremely powerful that we are now moving across it effortlessly. And there's somebody see this as Source and getting assistance to traverse, to cross the water, now having all of this clarity, right? In the upright 6 times, 6 being love and abundance, and the cups overflowing Four of Wands on the bottom. 10:04 on the timer. Abundance. The Ten of Wands, the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is something we don't have to be having all of our energy going into manifesting anymore, right? We have assistance. When you learn certain lessons and you come back across those energies and now you're mastering, right? When you learn addition and you move on to the next set of lessons that incorporate that skill set, you're mastering. Some of us have, being drawn to this high priestess, some of us have unlocked, I was going to say open, but Spirit is saying unlocked is the message that I'm being told. Resonates with more people right now listening. That there's some things we've unlocked, and owning that and receiving that fully is the message. So earlier I'm being drawn back to an earlier train of thought I had this evening about the X-Men and the X chromosome. That everybody has the X, divine feminine, divine masculine, that we have that in common. And the X, it's like a universal, I'm seeing and hearing that we sign with the X. That's a generic symbol. Coming home to tying all this together. So taking all of these lessons and incorporating them in this next cycle of life is part of the Earth School mastery that we're stepping into. We don't have the same resistance to unlocking. We've already unlocked intuition and accepting that we have inner knowing, and practicing. Some people may want to practice their gifts in different ways and be open to new ways of applying those lessons and how we manifest. The King of Pentacles is the last card in the Oracle deck. So we've gone through all of those energies that it takes in this system. We've gone through all of these energies at this point, moving forward and having access to all of our divine birthright in this new dawning. I'm here dawning, and I'm seeing galactically, cosmically, universally, that we have stepped into a realm of vastness. I'm hearing vast, into space. Star card on the bottom. The vastness of space and the cosmos and the universe, and seeing the sun in the background on the monitor. The star card talks about hope, direction, renewal, trust, belief. So believing in ourselves, believing that, going back to that X-Men message, that some of us have abilities that are yet to be discovered. And I invite, there's an invitation from Spirit to invite people to be open to these abilities. I think they have taught us to fictionalize our gifts, to keep us in a certain mindset of observing it on the outside of us in a fantastical way, is what I'm hearing. It's been fantastical as opposed to normal, right? And I feel, I hear that it's not fantastical, it's normal. Abilities are normal. And this is going to be justice for a lot of people to realize that they are gifted when they've been told and led to believe that that's something that's fictional. Justice, an upright attitude, transparency, attitude. I wonder if that's even a word. Integrity. Moving forward with the truth is integrity. And when we're not stumbling over heartache, justice falling under the Three of Swords, when we're not stumbling over heartache and we're traversing this air element, that's your throat chakra, that's mental and verbal clarity, integrating that into our manifestations and being crystal clear. I'm seeing the High Priestess, crystal, the crystal ball, seeing into the future is something that people have been shown to receive from someone else, like me doing a reading now. When in reality, the future is what we create when we're aligned and we choose different timelines, and then we look forward down to that future path at different things that come up, and that is predicting or envisioning the future on the timeline that we've chosen to step onto. Right? These people know where they're going, and they can see it in the distance, the direction they're going, because they're on a certain trajectory, on a timeline, right? And if you choose a different outcome because you look down that timeline and that's no longer serving you, you can make a different choice and find a different path in this new cycle. Some of us may want to get a different job or relationship or hobby, if any of those are resonating. And that is our birthright, is to experience new and exciting things in life. That stagnancy, that constant going around and around and constantly being on guard for all of 1919 on the timer, which is the sun, constantly being on guard is one of the benefits we're going to have access to this next cycle. Even throughout the rest of this year, I'm hearing the next 6 months is going to, and this is me looking forward on the timeline and the frequency I'm speaking to, the collective I'm speaking to right now. Expect change. Expect a different experience. embody the choices that we've made and the trajectory that we're on is the stopping and smelling the roses while we experience it and trusting that it is coming. Because this is our justice. Because if you've done the work and you've learned the lessons, there's no reason to expect anything different. Doesn't mean you can make a mistake and learn more as you go. Of course, it doesn't mean that. But it won't be the same mistakes as before, having learned the lessons that we've learned up until now. You might make some new mistakes, right? Which only points to that we're stepping out there and making an effort. Life is not, I'm hearing, not without trial and error. You know, if you're learning to practice clairvoyance, where you can visually opening, decalcifying, strengthening your pineal gland, quieting your mind, and asking your higher self, source, your guides, a question, and you are choosing to work on clairvoyance, ask to see, say, show me. Me personally, when I want to see something, I ask to show me. Show me, what is this going to look like? Show me what this is that's blocking me. Show me what the lesson is I need to learn. Show me who it is I need to be aware of in my energy. Show me visually. I want to see, is the intention behind asking to be shown. And that is one way to practice using the muscle of the pineal gland and the third eye. And it can start from just when we close our eyes and we see that it's black, right? It should be black. You might see little squigglies moving around, right? The same thing that we can see with our eyes open, just from the light hitting our eyes and going to our retina. I don't know all of the biological jargon, but the point is, the blackness is the place from which we can see, and just getting used to the dark and being open to seeing an image. I used to see, another tool is to picture a monitor, like a flat screen, and to say, because it'll help focus on that image we want to see. If we're practicing, for example, clairvoyance, you see a monitor and ask to be shown on the monitor whatever it is. So I can say, show me the pyramids in Egypt on the monitor, and I'll start to get an image. You can even, and this, I heard somebody say they wanted to learn how to astral project recently. So level one of seeing is the blackness, and one tool, you don't need them to see it on a monitor. You can just ask to be shown within the blackness, show me the image. But a monitor is a focal point and creates a window or a portal. And for people who want to practice astral projection, who are ready for that level of, that's a more advanced clairvoyance. For me personally, astral projecting starts with seeing where you're going. So having the monitor is clairvoyance and seeing something. To astral project there, one technique is to step through that monitor, that doorway, that portal, once you've locked in on, we're looking at the pyramids. So I see the pyramids, I see the on the ground in front of it, and I want to go there. I'll just go through that image in the monitor, which is like a doorway, and put myself there. And now I'm astral projecting there. As a visual experience, that's one way I've learned to astral project. There's some warnings as far as where you choose to astral project to that I can tell you from experience. You don't want to just go any and everywhere. It's like going on vacation. You know, they say, if for people who've been on vacation in countries that, or even in this country, it doesn't even matter where. If you're going somewhere that you're not familiar with, you want to be situationally aware. You want to be aware of, like, you don't want to go down a dark alley in a city or a country that you're not familiar with by yourself, right? Because there are other energies and entities and beings that exist outside of the physical that when you start projecting and looking, you have an inner light and a glow, and it's like you can become a target in those environments if you're not in a place you need to be. Is one reason, one example of using protection, not going anywhere and everywhere at any time you feel like it, using discernment, making wise choices, right? And there's also karma and universal law, right? You don't have the right to spy on other people, for example, right? That can get you negative karma as well. So there's rules of the road that you need to not learn them all the hard way, right? Like when you get a driver's license, you study the book and you take a test and then you get a license. There should be something similar for astral projection that gets people ready, and clairvoyance that gets people ready. In the mystery schools, long ago, they taught people how to do this. You don't have to figure it out on your own. So I'm sharing some of the things that I've experienced that are 2808 on the timer, that are things to be aware of, right? When you drive a car, you need to know, based on what country you're in, which side of the road you should be on. Same thing for astral projecting. When you go into the astral realm, right, you should know where the ground is, where the water is, where the sky is, and who's where is this? What do I need to be aware of here? Right? You don't want to go into somebody else's personal space, or, you know, somewhere that has protection around it, and not expect that there's potentially consequences. If I just want to go to the park, a public area, and see the park right now, or at any point in time, I can, like Back to the Future where he set the timer, I can just be intentional with that. Show me this time and this place, okay? And protect me along the way is a request you can make of your spirit guides. And that right there, and don't show me anything that's going to cause me any negative karma. Don't take me anywhere that's going to have me have negative karma, is a protection to add before doing anything. So that's some basic rules of the road. Like, make sure you have gas in your car before you go anywhere. Make sure the tires aren't flat, right? Make sure the lights work. Similar to astral projection, 29, 30:03 on the timer. Being mentally and physically, emotionally balanced is another wise thing to do before you try to exert yourself, because going astral projecting takes energy. It's not the same, or it's not dissimilar from working out, but it's mental exercise and it takes energy. So not drinking any alcohol, which lowers your frequency, and you traveling where there's lower frequency energies and entities that can attach to you, and you can come back, and when you're done, have that still in your aura and dealing with, which is not necessary. You don't want to learn that one the hard way either. So I don't recommend drinking alcohol and trying to do any psychic work or any drugs per se. I know there's a lot of tribal ritual things that people have done throughout time to help, but that's not something you need, and those things should be done with somebody who's trained to guide you through it. Not learning trial and error by yourself is not my recommendation. I think if anybody's planning to try different things like abilities that they haven't done before, they should do it clear and sober and rested. And the next after that is decalcifying your pineal gland with different herbs. There's different things to take. Not using fluoride in water and toothpaste, and having that be an ongoing practice that a lot of people may or may not be aware of. Fluoride calcifies your pineal gland. It just makes it more challenging. It can make it more challenging to see clearly. This is turning into a one-on-one 101 clairvoyance lesson. So, and I used to teach different psychic abilities in a group setting. So 32:32 on the timer. Yeah, let's get another card. So that's some basics as far as having a good experience with clairvoyance and seeing, the psychic ability of seeing. Got two cards. The King of Swords and Temperance. So going in with pure intentions and staying balanced is the key to having a successful experience and it not having any negative karma attached to it. You might need to rest after you've spent a certain amount of time practicing some of these abilities. And you might do it with others, and you might form groups and practice together. That can be an interesting experience, and compare notes and compare the success and what worked and what didn't work and what was your experience like, and learn from each other in small groups of 2 or 3 people to practice. Set an intention. Let's practice for 5 minutes looking together at a location at a certain time and see and take notes and see quietly, and then compare notes after 5 minutes of clearing our mind, taking a few breaths, focusing on what we've agreed to focus on, and then writing down whatever we notice, whatever we hear, see, textures, colors, people, animals, smells, emotions, all of our senses can be engaged in astral travel. And emotions is one of the easiest things for people to lock on to when traveling in the astral? What does it feel like? You know, especially if we have an open heart and emotions that we're attuned to, noticing what does this feel like and writing that down. Does it feel high energy? Does it feel like there's a group of people at the park if we're looking at the pyramids? Is it a busy day? Are there a lot of people? Or is it, you know, an off time? There's nobody there. It's just kind of neutral. Or there could be, you know, nervousness, the whole range of emotions, whatever they are, write them down and not being attaching to any of them, just noticing them, because especially as if you're empathic and identify with being an empath, that's a skill set to incorporate into astral travel. If you're clairaudient and you hear and get messages, what do you hear? Do you hear anything in the environment? 36:16 on the timer. Do you hear traffic or animals or people or children or machinery or nature? And writing notes about that down. So I'm giving some basic ideas right now about tapping into astral travel, using different gifts, and stepping into this new age, this new era of that we're all gifted, and owning that for people who choose to walk the path with all of your senses and your gifts active. This right now through this Lionsgate portal into the eclipse portal with the solar eclipse in 3 days on the 12th of August. Confirmation. I'm getting, this is the time to easily access those as opposed to other times in the cycle. I'll give you an example. When I first identified with being a reader, and my first deck was this Oshu deck, and I really like it because it's not the classic Rider-Waite tarot system. It's very simple and basic, and it's a one word, one element, one number, and an image, and it tells you when you pull cards, it tells you to just kind of look at the image and what do you first kind of see, what do you feel, what does it remind you of, and receiving whatever messages there are. It's just receptivity. Yeah, so my point is, I picked this deck up during a solar eclipse a few years ago and intuitively taught myself and listened to my guides about how to get comfortable using this. So that's another thing. People might want to pick up a deck of cards, a tarot. Even playing cards is, you know, one of the first ways people were reading cards was just a deck of cards. But cards is just one form of divination or speaking to the higher self, source, our guides, receiving messages. And why do we do this? Is it just for show? Is it just for... This reminds me of the first thing I was talking about with the creating a monitor in your mind and seeing where you want to, wherever you want to see. Why do we do this though? What's the point, right? So the point is we already do this and we don't realize it, right? Like when you say, well, what did you eat yesterday? And where were you? And in your mind, you're picturing that. it's not happening now, but you can see it and remember it. That's traveling in the past. There's no past, present, or future. There's just now. But it's pulling up something that you've already done, right? And it's very similar. It's the same muscle. It's just using it in a different application. So instead of something you've already done, recalling it, when you look into the now or look into the what has not yet happened, what we call the future, and you're putting that piece, you're recalling that. This is even right where his third eye is, right? You want to fill in this blank, and we start with that blank image. Going through these portals really gives people a lot of access to self learning. And 41 on the timer. It really gives people a great opportunity, I'm speaking from a personal experience, of getting comfortable with a new skill set. This is a great time to teach yourself something, and being open to learning with, and I say working with your guides. Some people may or may not identify with having guides, spirit guides. Me personally believe we all have that. Now, do we all utilize that? Maybe not. Maybe that's another skill set, is being open to having a guide or a guardian angel, some people say, or a spirit animal. You know, some people may see, say, like a butterfly or a dragonfly or a bird or a certain animal that when you see it, you identify with it. And when you see it throughout the day, you think it's a sign, right? So when you see signs, that's spirit telling you to pay attention. Paying attention to what, though? Paying attention to your thoughts. What were you just thinking about? Were you just thinking about, man, I really want XYZ, or to know XYZ, or is this something I should focus on? And then you see that animal or butterfly or whatever. That's a confirmation when you see something outside of yourself, to pay attention to what you were just thinking about. What were you just feeling? What were you just focusing on right before you saw the sign? And it doesn't have to be right before. It could be something you've been dwelling in, like, I'm waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for this to happen. Oh, boom. There's a sign. It's a sign for what? That's when you use discernment. I need a drink of water. I was starting to feel a heaviness, like where we're at, and this may be coming from somebody listening, that this is overwhelming. New things sometimes can feel overwhelming if we haven't had success at new things in the past. I understand that and know that from experience. And part of that, for me, may not resonate with everybody, is a fear of failure and the repercussions, and how am I going to look, and how am I going to feel if I fail, right? I'm seeing this Three of Swords again. How you're going to feel is that you tried something and it wasn't successful. And with practice, you get better. The people who are in the Olympics, do you think if they would have stopped when they had failure, that they would have made it to the Olympics? No. And I'm not suggesting people join the Olympics of psychic abilities. I'm simply saying even learning and getting comfortable with them might come with some trial and error, and that you don't have to expect to fail, but it doesn't mean it's not part of the process, and that there's not value in saying, hey, I tried this and it didn't work this time. That's the part that we need to add on, so we don't get stuck in the feeling of something not working before we start and self-sabotage. That's my recommendation. Don't not try something new, which means do try something new. Don't not do it, which means do it. Try something new And if you fail, just take note that that didn't work that time. Take a break, drink some water, take a deep breath, say that was attempt number one. You know, I'm seeing inventors and they have, hundreds of different attempts at creating an invention because it's never been done before type message. Just the message. But this has been done. You can read books, you can watch videos, you can have a lot of resources outside of yourself. One, that confirms it's possible, and two, giving you more confirmation, excuse me, giving you more evidence. I'm seeing a justice card. Evidence that this stuff works. I practiced clairvoyance for a couple years and got really comfortable with it just being natural when I want to see and know something. Sometimes I just see and know things without any effort. It seems effortless. And, some people may get to that point or may already be at that point and may want to take on a new ability. Claire, there's a Claire that is, I'm hearing Gustav. There's one that's taste, where you can activate the ability of, you can actually taste, and I've had this experience of, or smell, when you astral project, you can actually smell something that's there, like wood burning or popcorn or different scents, grass, or taste something sweet. But I was gonna say is touching. Like there's an ability where you can touch an object and know everything about it. I don't remember the name of that ability off the top of my head. But and these are all forms of divination, which is our gifts, our abilities connecting to source. Everything is connected. And not having this experience of not being connected all the time and not knowing. I'm seeing the High Priestess card. Not knowing inside yourself, not just believing something's possible, but knowing it to be so and trusting yourself is your birthright, is your gift. I assert that is your gift and birthright, is to know things and not have to go to somebody else to get confirmation on anything ever. You can want to know the truth about anything and ask and receive the answer. You don't have to go out and read somebody else's book because they went out and asked the question and got the answer. So why can't you do the same thing and write your own book? This is my experience. And then I'm hearing, well, but that's been done already. What about doing something new? But it hasn't been done by you. What if your version comes in a way that somebody else can be more receptive and is the perfect piece? Your addition and your creation is the perfect piece, 4830 on the timer, that the world needs whenever you create it, because that would validate your existence. A lot of people feel like I don't matter. What if you do matter? You just haven't applied yourself in a way yet for others to experience how much value you add, other than showing up to a job you don't want to even be at. That isn't adding value for anybody necessarily beyond, I'm hearing a monkey in a wheel. Doing something anybody could do. What about what your unique abilities and gifts and signature, in hearing interstellar signature? You have an interstellar signature that adds a specific piece to the puzzle. I'm seeing that world card, that completion card in the Oshu deck with the puzzle piece right here. You activating your gifts allows you to show up on Earth in a way that's not only appreciated, but needed. What if people needed to know what it's like experiencing life from your point of view? That's unique. Nobody has your point of view. Nobody ever has or will. Could it be similar and line up to other people's experiences? Yes, it will be. But it's not coming from them when you speak your truth. That's what I'm hearing is the message for people. 50:08 on the timer. Is there anything else to focus on in this message? This has been a little bit longer of a message. Staying hydrated. Yeah, so the cards are really a tool that once we have an idea, or if we want to tap into an idea, there's the completion card, that we can get confirmation. I don't need these cards to get confirmation. Seeing a butterfly fly by when I'm wondering something and I look out the window, and just as I look out the window, a butterfly flies by. Or I actually had this experience the other day. I was thinking whatever I was thinking about, and I just happened to look, and an owl landed 10 feet away from me on the balcony in daylight that I could see, and he looked at me. That's confirmation. Or I have a lot of animals on my property. I'll look up just as a deer comes by, and it's like, oh, source is all around me. Nature is all around me. Nature in it of itself has hundreds of signs that show up. Once we're being present to our thoughts and our environment, we get aligned. That's what alignment is seeing signs. Oh, that happened. Oh, that happened. There's no coincidences, right? This is why, I guess that's why we were on that. Why do we need this? Is because it makes life flow. This is engaging in the flow. When you're internal, you can see and be present to all of your senses. You can tap in and use them in a desired, chosen way. You can have experiences that you share with others that helps them on their path. That's why. If people need a reason to why should I want to learn any of this? Why should I want to grow my abilities? Why should I want to master myself? It's because when you get to a level of teacher, you can now teach others from your experience and give them insights that you've had through experience, through failures, what doesn't work, right? You don't want to astral travel tired and having taken drugs or alcohol. No. I'm not suggesting that you do either of those anytime. I'm saying don't ever expect a good experience practicing and using abilities with substances in your system. It's just going to potentially lower your frequency. Does it mean you can't? I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I don't suggest it. I don't suggest it in life. And I definitely don't suggest it when you're trying to use abilities that take more out of you to focus. It's counterproductive. It's like putting sugar in your gas tank and thinking you're going to go somewhere. No, it's going to destroy the inside of your car. And you're not going to go anywhere. And you're going to now not have a car that works properly. Yeah, so that's the warning. And that's not to discourage people from trying. It's to say do it in the right state of mind. Rested, clear, hydrated, excited even. Be excited about you have abilities you have not yet mastered potentially. And for those of you who have mastered them, be open to the new abilities you haven't even unlocked. There's infinite levels to this shit. And if you're already mastering them and teaching other people, then congratulations. Take a break. Maybe somebody needs to hear that, right? And taking a break to get ready for another level. You don't have to keep doing the same stuff. I think people get in a cycle where they get comfortable. And I'm not saying not to be comfortable. I'm saying sometimes comfort stops us from ascending. I was going to say accelerating. It stops us from accelerating and ascending, getting comfortable with that we know everything. I don't think I know everything. Sometimes I let go of what I know to make room for something I have yet to learn. So that might be a message for somebody. Being childlike and not childish is another distinction. And I'm not suggesting anybody listening is childish. I'm just saying that childlike playfulness is something that we can encourage inside of us to tap into growth. Because children, everything's fun when you're a kid. You know, there's a lot of things that are enjoyable. New ideas, new places, new experiences is exciting when you're a kid. When you're an adult, you're like, I've done everything, I know everything, and I know how it's going to turn out. You know, that's not true. I get it. It does occur like that at times in life. We know everything, we've done everything, we already know what's available. And if that's something people are okay with, then that's fine too. But it doesn't have to be the experience on life on earth. I think that's selling ourselves short. My grandmother was, almost lived 100 years, and she was driving in her 90s and taking care of herself. So, you know, there's always more out there. And she was extremely happy and healthy and intelligent and self-sufficient and intuitive, and resourceful. So 57 on the timer. I'm going to close this out. I'm seeing strength in the world card. Yeah, let's close out this last solar cycle. Take a deep breath. Thank you for listening. Thank you for receiving the message. And thank you for leaving whatever doesn't resonate as not for you. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Sleep well. Sleep lucid. Thank you.